Okay, so everything seems to work really well. And let's continue with the homework. Okay, so let me check if so right. Um, okay, so let me check the homework. Well, okay. Actually, I did check, and I have a few questions for you guys. For example, the first position that we were talking about was this, when King f7 was the last move, and the question was how to continue with no. No, this is the position. So King f7 was played, and the question was how to come up with a plan here. So what white should be doing? Okay, what white should be doing here? Of course, they should get the control over the d6 square, because that was actually our topic. But well, I think c5 looks obvious, and thanks for John who suggested it. So then rook goes back, and then, well, d6 looks natural, but d6 provides a black with a lot of opportunities to relocate his pieces and hold this blockade. That's why the d6 should be occupied with the knight. And the knight goes to d6 in a very weird way. So knight a4. Well, okay, so first knight a5. Knight a4 was played later. So this supporting d5. So now white is completely winning. The rest they need is just to find the proper plan. And this plan is this. And the other knight goes there. Finally, this move was played. And after knight d6, king goes to e7. Can you suggest the move for white in this position? So what do you think white can do? Oh, well, I think it's quite easy. Just one tactical strike and white already gets some material advantage. Knight takes b7, rook takes b7, d takes c6. Okay. Well, this is how you gain a pawn, I think, right? Knight b7. Well, thus the rook has to take, d takes c6, and... Well, I don't understand how it wins the rook. Ah, because you can play this move. Okay. I can play that rook move. So the key idea is that once you take here, I play knight d7, you take with... No, I think it's fine. I take with my knight. It's still a winning position. So c6 now? Well, c6 and you what? Gain the exchange? Yeah, so knight b7 would work. Actually, what does... Yeah, I think this is the best move, actually, knight b7. In the game, they played the second best move, knight b5. Which does almost the same thing. So knight b5, if they a takes b6, it's this, then d takes c7, and this rook is also under attack, and d7 is vulnerable. So that's why after this move, they have to play with this rook back, but the rook was already trapped. So knight takes c8, and the position becomes winning. So, but well, from a computer point of view, knight b7 was better than knight b5. Well, this is a winning position. They still move their knight to d6. Well, and then easily won the game. We are not going to focus on it. Let's instead talk about the second homework. I mean, the second puzzle, which was a part of a homework. Let me... Okay, we can start from the beginning. So a4 and c6 was played. The main idea is that c6 weakens the d6 square, and the question was how to exploit it. So again, here, John sent the correct answer. It was this knight goes to e4. Knight goes to e4, then what? Well, what they can do? Well, the bishop is under attack, and taking here isn't a good idea because simply bishop takes, right? Yes, and then knight d6 will be played anyway. So, but they can take, the king takes, not the knight, because the knight jumps there. And in this position, black decided to not take this bishop because they consider it that this position is completely losing. Yes, it is. So, for example, what then? If they move the king to d8, then it's knight f7, and then we take, and they cannot even trap our knight. We can try to release it from there. So we're gonna have an extra exchange here, and c takes, knight takes. Well, where else the king can go to? Well, f8 probably, but then we take here, and b6 is vulnerable, and these pieces are not developed. So, for example, knight a, rook a4, then we can take, play this, then capture another pawn. This pawn is lost anyway, so white is completely winning. Or maybe we first capture this pawn and then threaten a check, which will lead to another rook exchange, and then we have several extra pawns. So that's why after the exchange of the bishops, it was knight h6 played. Before, rook goes to a8, and then knight jumps to d6, king e7, bishop simply retreats because it was under attack all that time. And then white successfully took advantage of the position of the knight on d6 because this knight stops enemy pieces development. It doesn't allow this piece, the d pawn, to move, and the bishop can hardly get developed. So they can try to undermine, but then f4. So white is clearly better here. Okay, fine. That was the homework. And yeah, so, well, we have some new students here. Liv Huani from South Africa, who is considered, who is quite a strong player, 1900. There is Michael from the US. He is 1150 on chess.com. And Bob, who is only 800 on chess.com, but Bob just recently. Well, Bob, did you recently start playing chess, or you start joining webinars recently?
Um, I've been watching your webinars and they're amazingly instructive. I've been playing chess probably for, oh, geez, since high school. I'm 60 years old, so I have
Ah,
been playing for a while, but only been playing online recently. I've just
mm-hmm,
been playing computer chess and with friends. And
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, fine. Well, I'm sure you will learn a lot on these webinars, because today we also cover a very important topic. Well, maybe the outpost on d6 isn't so common in the end games, but definitely in the knowledge um, of what you should do once you obtain such a perfect outpost is very helpful in your games. But today we start with Rook Endgames, and well, Rook Endgames happen very often. Maybe about 30% of all games finish with Rook Endgames. Okay, so take a look at this position. What do you know about it? It's black to move, and what do you think, whether it's a draw or black is winning? So these are just basics. We start with basics, and then we continue with something more complicated. So I'm sure many of you know this position and know exactly how black should play here. Okay, so by the way, guys, it would be great if you could suggest your candidate moves by sending a private message to me. So in the chat window, now it shows that you are sending messages to meeting group chat, but you can change it and send a direct message to a person. So choose me, choose Viktor Neustroev. This is how other people who may need more time to think will will also suggest, will think themselves and suggest their own continuations here. So, well, black is winning, but how black is winning? How exactly black should play here? Okay. So, Brian, I think you did send it in a not in a proper way. So, okay, fine. Okay, so yes, I see there is, yeah, like this. Now it works. So there is a suggestion. Okay. So first of all, it's the HGF. So, and the pawn is about to get promoted. So it's not B and A, but okay, no worries. I understand your suggestion here. Okay, so well, there are no suggestions rather than the suggestion by Liv Huani. So this is a so-called Philidor position, and black is completely winning here. What black can do? If black decides to push the pawn with a check, king blocks, and then this king, without any pawn cover here, will be vulnerable. So, and white gonna chase this king away, and then it will be impossible to promote the pawn. It can be even like that. So let's say this, well, king goes here, this, king goes there. So it can be something really nice like rook f3. Because if the king takes, it's a stalemate. If the king doesn't take, well, here we take the f2 pawn and we win the game anyway. Oh, sorry, we draw the game anyway because of no pawns. So doing this doesn't work. Well, maybe it makes sense to play rook h2 first and then play f2. Yes, it's definitely a good idea because once the king goes to f1, then rook h1. But unfortunately, they can just play rook a3 and the pawn is pinned. So that's why rook g2 first. If the king goes to h1, rook h2, king goes to g1, and f2 in this position. Now the king goes to f1, and we simply win a rook, and of course, then we also promote. If the king goes to f1, okay, then we can play rook h2. This is how we are threatening with a checkmate, as well as to capture the rook. For example, if king e1, then we just gain a rook. And the only way for white to play here is king g1 to avoid rook loss, but they still lose the material after f2 because the king is forced to go back. And because these are checks, white has no option to deliver a check through the third rank to chase the black king away. And rook h1, and yeah, this is a skewer, a winning position. So this is how black wins. Now let's talk about this position. Now you're white, and it's not a losing position, but you should tell me which exact move white is required to play to not lose. So, okay, so there are several suggestions. Okay, so there are, I mean, rook a6, rook a8. What else? Yeah, rook a6. Well, I don't see the point of rook a6 because I myself prefer to move my rook further from the king to not make it easier task. I mean, to not let them attack my rook once I deliver a check. So that's why I will play rook a8. But I am sure that rook a6 also leads to a draw anyway. So why this move? Well, the key idea is that if the king goes first, if let's say we play a random move in this position, the king goes first, this is a completely losing position. Why? Because we don't have time to check the king from behind. So if we do this, they play f3 and we are losing. How? Well, so first of all, this is a mating threat. If we bring the rook back, they still do the same strategy with rook h1, now king g1, f2, and that's it. So if we let the enemy king to go to the third rank, we lose. If the pawn goes to the third rank, then we can move the king to see to anywhere to this 8 to the 7th rank, and then right now these checks do not make any sense. The king goes to f2 and back, so king g3, and we start checking them from behind, and he cannot avoid it. So this check, go back, check, go here, okay, check here, 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 here. Let's say check again. And once he goes there to play rook g7, it's enough just to attack the pawn. The pawn is lost. The king is too far. We can even do it in this position. So we can even play this move, and they still cannot do anything. If they go there, we keep repeating checks. If they advance, we just take it. So our task is mainly to force their pawn to move first. That's why rook e8 isn't the best way to play. It's still a draw after rook e8, but the main idea is rook a3. You stop the king coming to the third rank. And once the pawn comes, it's a complete draw if only you move the rook to deliver checks from behind. So it can be a5, a6, a7 rook moves. This is a draw anyway, but not rook a4, because after king g3, no checks can be delivered. Okay, so remember, so this is a Philidor position, and if the king goes first, you lose. If the pawn goes first, then checks from behind are playable. Well, you can also start checking from behind here, but this is a bit more complicated because after this move, we still have to deliver a check on a3. Okay, fine. So I think it's clear. Let's talk about this position. White to move. What do you know about this position? So is there a win? And if there is, how? Because looks like our king is stalemated. They are likely to play these moves. And how do we promote the pawn if we cannot move the king away? So we cannot, well, maybe we can move the rook to f2. What do you think? But then we still cannot go to f7 or f8 with the king. And we cannot bring the rook to the h file in this position. Okay, so uh, okay, so here, Brian, not rook d4 right away, but rook e2 first. Why this move is required? So first of all, and then you do similar to, okay, so and then you do a rook lift. So this is a so-called Lucena position or Lucena position. So in different languages, people say the name of the inventor of this position differently. So this position never happened in Lucena's games himself, but he was able to compose it. Okay, so what's the key idea here? So we should move the king away to the f file. and try to push the pawns. And when they start delivering checks from behind, then our task is to make to block it with our rook. So how does it work? This. Now let's say king d6, king d7 doesn't matter. Well, let's say king d6. King f6 is another possibility, but then the win is easier. You just play king f8 and promote on the next move. So they have to sacrifice the rook. If you think that they can probably checkmate, no, they cannot. Your rook is here, so you just block with the rook, and this is a winning position. So king f6 doesn't deserve attention at all. Let's say king d6. And then we play this move. Why? Well, let me explain why. Our idea is to move the king to f7. So, for example, how can they play? Let's say they just play a waiting move. King goes to f7, rook f2, king goes to g6, here, king f6, another check, and then we play king g5. So our task is to block this check with the rook. This is how our pawn is not hanging, and we are about to promote. This king is too far away. If, let's say, after, instead of this rook h2 move, they play something logical like that, then what do you think how to play? Okay, then you play rook e8, right? Then you move the king further and promote the pawn. So, for example, here, this. He checks. How do you play here? No, looks like king f7 was a wrong strategy. Actually, I think still rook g4. Because what can he do? He can bring the king here, we play this move, and we still promote. If he tries to block us from escaping from that side, we escape from the other side. So rook e8 is a possible move, but the shortest way to win is rook g4. So we already create a bridge for our king and successfully escape. So king e6, let's say, king f8. And then we promote with a check. So if they deliver check here, then, oops. Yeah, then this, and then g8, right? If, let's say, they can try to checkmate us, first of all, it's not a checkmate. Okay, so this, king e8, and then they try to checkmate us with this. We promote with rook e8 move. Well, g8 is a check, so the king has to move. But even if it wasn't a check, we could deliver an intermediate check with rook g6, forcing the king to go away from the 6th rank, and then we would promote. He can still do this and capture our queen, but then it's a completely winning position with extra rook. Okay, so rook here, king d6. So, well, let's say they play king d7. Why not rook e5? Well, rook e5 is also playable if they move their king there. And if this move, then, well, rook g5 still wins. Then king e7, unfortunately, and it seems that we have to repeat the position. So it looks like that we need some space for the king to escape. So either f8 or f7. That's why rook e4 to lure the enemy king. And then even if he goes to e6, we now have king f8 move. So that's why rook e5, rook e4 is practically better than rook e5. Okay, so was it easy for you? Okay, fine. So let's continue with the second part of our webinar. This is the game that we are going to discuss, the game between Alexander Alekhine and Haserul Capablanca. So Well, here white decided to play queen d4 and exchange the queens. The queens were exchanged because, well, what else? If queen a2, let's say, this is a completely losing queen endgame because nothing can stop white from promoting a pawn. So queen d4, queen takes d4, rook takes d4, king g7, a5 was played, and rook a6. So now what do you think? What white should do in this position? Okay, so there are several ideas. So the pawn is hanging, and we can protect the rook with rook d5 as well as with rook a4. Um, okay, so in the game it was played rook d5, but in my opinion, well, and actually, according to the engine, the best way was to play rook a4. They both win, but rook a4 wins better. So what could happen then? So when we protect the pawn from behind, the rest we need is to bring our king, chase the rook away, and push the pawn further. So king f6, king f3. Here, rook f4. And if they take on f5, we take on f7, and they also lose one of these two pawns. And our king is closer. If rook a7 defending it, then king d4. So we let them take, but enter the enemy camp with with our king. So for example, this. Then the next move is this, and then we capture this, and then these two pawns because this king is too far. So this a5 pawn, which is an outside passed pawn, was distracting the enemy king from the place of action, while the white king invades the enemy territory. Rook e7, let's say they stop us from entering their camp. King d5, they take king d6. And now if they need to hold the rook on the 7th rank, so rook b7, we simply play king a5 and destroy the enemy pawns after that. Okay, so rook d5 was played in the game, still winning. The game continued with rook f6. There is no need to keep the rook on a6 because the pawn cannot move further. Rook d4, and now rook goes to a4. So they still did the same strategy here. Rook a6, rook a4, king goes to f6, king f3. Well, and then it's basically the same thing. Well, rook a2, because king b5 was a tempo gaining move. But that's not the end. Here, this pawn structure is really perfect, and this is the best way to locate the pawns if you are down a pawn. If black wants to draw, they just need to keep the rook here, defending this, and each other pawn defends the other one. So the f7 defends the g6 defends the h5. King b5, king b3. So taking here is a disaster. This king is closer, but how to play now? Looks like this king is located better, but so it's 3 versus 3 and all pawns are defended. How would you continue in this case? Okay, so f3 g4 with a breakthrough. f3 or f4. Well, Brian, could you please make it more concrete? So f3 or f4? because these two moves have two different ideas. F4, okay, and after F4, how to continue? Yeah, so Leaf Huani is correct this time. F4 and then F5 to destroy. Yeah, so F4, the king goes there, F5, G takes F5, and then this pawn is lost. So G takes F5 is a forced move, otherwise we take, gain one pawn on G6 and then the other one on H5. And this is a completely winning position. That's it. Okay, so rook a5 doesn't work. That's why king goes back to c5. King goes back to c3, king b5, and now this king goes to d4 to enter the enemy territory. Check, king goes there, another check, and king goes to f4. King e6, so the black rook and the black king changed their places, so now the king stops the pawn and the rook is active enough. So what do you think white should be doing in this position in order to win it? Okay, so yeah, thank you for your suggestions. Yes, it's right. If possible, can you send it by a private message? The king goes to g5 with the idea of going to g7, where it will be attacking the f7 pawn. So rook f5, king h6, rook f5. The idea was to locate the rook, attacking this as well as protecting this. f4. Now what? Rook c5. The g3 is potentially weakness, so rook a3 defending it. If this move is played, after king g7, this is a Zugzwang. If they move the king, we advance the pawn further. If they move the rook, they lose on f7. So that's why rook c7. King g7. So moving the f pawn with a check means that g6 is lost. That's why rook d7. Here on the 7th rank, they have a lot of squares to move, so they are not in a Zugzwang. How would you continue in this position? Okay, so king f6 and then f5. Well, we actually may play f5 right away. There is no need of king f6. So king f6, they keep the rook on the 7th rank. Then f5, well, yes. But f5 right away works even better. Why do we need king f6? Why? Well, why we waste the tempo on king f6 if we can play f5 right away? So we're threatening to gain a pawn and then to capture the other one. So they have no better line but to take themselves. And then the king goes to stop to capture this one, because then the h pawn becomes a passed pawn. And with two passed pawns, white is definitely winning. So black decides to sacrifice this pawn back, and then with rook d5 they defend. But after king g7 and rook f5, what should we do? We should play rook a4. Yes, thank you, guys. Well, and black rook is in the Zugzwang. So if the rook moves, we take here. If the pawn moves, it's king g6, and they still lose all the pawns. So king b5 is the only way, because if the king goes further, we push the pawn to a6. But king b5, a6 no longer works. They stop it. So that's why after king b5, we have to play with our rook, and this time we move it to e4. With the support of this pawn, we are about to play this move. Rook e5. So king goes to, well, if king goes there, then rook e5. The rooks are exchanged. We take here and simply promote the e pawn successfully. So king goes to a6. How to play then? Well, rook e5 in this position, the rook takes f4, so it may be not a winning position, but rook h5, f5 with the pawn. So yeah, well, it seems to be a winning position anyway. Right, this is a possibility, but king h6 was played. And now they finally took on a5, being in the Zugzwang, and then rook e5 was played. But if, let's say, they play king a7 here, then what? Well, then it seems that king g7, and we should repeat and still continue with rook e5. Okay. So they took finally rook e5. Now this pawn is lost, and this king is too far. So they're trying to block the king, so the king cannot escape and let the h pawn move, but just simply rook g5, and that's it. So this, then, well, king g4 is a possibility, but rook f5 is a better move. So it's better to capture the second pawn, and then two pawns together are simply promoted. We can even keep the rook on the e file to not let the enemy king to enter the place of action. And these two pawns can be promoted with the king. Okay, fine. So what I want you to learn from this position, first of all, locate your rook behind the pawn. So even here, when rook d5 was played, White later regretted of this idea and still moved their rook to the a file behind the pawn. And the second thing I want you to remember is that this pawn is always played in order to lure the enemy king to the queen side and let your king enter the enemy territory and capture the pawns on the king side left. Okay, that's it. Well, what we are going to do today, we are going to continue with these positions. I prepared these two positions and we're gonna play them. Okay, let me set up everything. And you, while you are waiting for it, you can. So the webinars are free, but I kindly ask you to donate if you have such an option. So this is the link that allows you to donate. So let me show how it works. You just click donate, and then a pop-up window appears. Then you enter the amount you want to donate and click this button, PayPal. And it works. The money will be directly transferred to my account. Okay, let me close it. Oops. Oh, okay. Actually, I wanted to send it to the meeting chat. Okay, here it is. This is the link. Okay, so the second part of our of our webinar is playing the games. So we're gonna play from two positions. Time control. The time control will be 10 plus 5. And set up position. So I'm going to copy the first one. Okay, so I'm sharing the screen. This is the first position I ask you to play with. Well, of course, I'm playing with black pieces. You have extra pawn, and your task is to win. Well, if you are ready, well, why the invite link doesn't work? Oh, sorry. 10 plus 5 from custom odds. Set up the position. Load. I play with black pieces and rate it. Well, last time it did work. Okay, I can play with a friend. Create challenge. This is how it works. So it's unrated and it's... Oh, they just don't allow me to do this anymore. Okay, sorry. Let's go back. So, okay, tell me your usernames on chess.com. I'll send the challenge to you directly. Okay, so let me check. Yeah, please go to chess.com to play these positions. I'm going to challenge you one by one. Okay, so the first new game. Okay, let's play this one, just one. Well, actually, custom. Last time everything worked smoothly. This time I have some issues. I don't know why. Maybe chess.com changed something. Oops. Oops. No, not this one. This. Play. Okay. So rook here. Okay, then let me play this move. So Parallax, I send a challenge to you. Okay, thank you. Your turn. Okay, the same move. Okay, let me play this. Here, king goes to e6. And you are threatening with a checkmate, right? So I have to do this. Rook a5. Okay, so games. You game. Okay, it on lichess it's much easier actually. I have to bring the rook back to not get checkmated. And oh, finally invite link works. Okay, so guys, this is the link. Please click on it. So probably it's because of the time control. Okay, so here I have to play quickly. King here. Then the king goes there. So let me attack with the rook. Here g5. g5 looks quite clever, and it seems that I have no better option but to take. So where am I? So let me take. Fine. Okay, and now the second position. So if I choose 15 plus time plus 10 time control, it works. And the second position is so here. So the second position is more playable actually. The second position is this. Oops. Yes, again, I'm playing with black pieces. Uh-huh. Okay, let me play against Brian. Okay, rook g5. But what is the winning plan for white now? King goes to c7. Quite clever. Okay, rook goes there. Rook g4. Let's move. Oops, check. King e7 here. Rook b4. So what can I do? Looks like I have to defend my position with rook b7. Here, king g6. So there is no checkmating threat. There is there is rook g5 move. Rook goes there. Well, right now there is nothing I should be worried about. So then I take here, rook b5. Let me play this move. So king e8 or king f7. What do you think, guys? Yeah. And what if I just take here? Rook d8. Okay. Okay, wait a sec. Does anyone want to play the game against me? Let me do a new game. More time controls. 15 plus 10. So custom position. Fin, and so if you okay, so black. Okay, who wanted? If anybody else wants to play, just tell me your username. I will um, send the challenge to you. Oh, invite link finally works. Okay, let me copy this link to the chat, and if you want to play, just okay. I can also do this. Play. Oops. Wait a sec. Okay. Yeah, the challenge is sent. Okay, what do I have to play here? So let me try to capture the H pawn first. E6. Okay, after E6, King E7 is the only move. Okay, here Rook F8. What can I do? I think this is where my position is already better because I can try to gain this pawn. How? Well, I think with Rook D4 move, because if I play Rook G5, oops, no, let's abort it. This is a wrong link, so sorry. Here, Rook D7. Well, and this is a draw. Rook D7, I have to move my king to F8. Here, take. It's not a draw. It's a losing position, unfortunately. Uh-huh, right. So Rook G7, I take. Yes, I have to resign because I cannot stop the H pawn. Okay, thank you, Parallax. You did well. Okay, so what do you have? Let's actually make a new one again. So it's 15. No, this is 10. So 15. This is a wrong link. Just a sec. So this is correct. Okay, so the challenge is sent to Saint Bob, or you can use this link instead. The second one. Seven. Okay. So what can I do in this position? I can still do the same thing. So check. Rook goes there. Then Rook G5. Here I still try to win. Maybe it will help. Okay. So use the last link. We're gonna play from a certain position. Rook one. So I take this. Okay, check. Here I move the king further. King d6. Rook f5. King goes there. Okay, I'm gonna capture here. Well, yeah, I'm gonna capture here. E7. G5. Rook g5. So what can I do? Okay, let me bring the king. King g6. Here. So rook d8 is not a threat. Ah, I take the rook. Well, I take the rook, and this is how I simply win. Okay, let me try one more time to challenge Saint Bob. So custom 15 plus 10. So again, this is the link for you. If you want to play against me, then we're gonna play from this position. Okay, so here my turn. Yeah, so Bob, please join to the play section. No, not this. Yes. Okay, the challenge is sent. So you should be here. Oh, you should click here, then play. So to the pawn and then play. And then you will accept this challenge. Or you can just use this link. The last link I sent. Here, king f6. Here, king g5. Yes, like that. Okay, Johnny, yes, you can do like that. Let's just make moves. So here a7 is a weakness. Okay. Yes, and this seems to be a draw. Let me try something. Rook c8. No, it won't work. Rook takes c3. Check. Well, here I have to exchange, and this is a draw. Thank you for the game. Your king goes there. Yeah, Brian, thank you for the game too. So, yeah, we have one game left. Yeah, I just wanted to block. No, I don't want to report. I want to block him. Yeah, this. Okay, so here, what happens? White has a material pawn majority on the flank, a2 and b4. So how White tries to take advantage of it? Okay, so what? Okay, a4, fine. And if I do this, okay, play new game, custom. Then, fin. This play. So Bob, I challenge you. You should see my challenge and you should accept it. It's on chess.com. So here what I should do. Well, a5 is not a problem. Okay, yes, exactly. This is how it works. Or you could use the link that I sent in the chat. Yeah, okay. Oops, no. Could you please abort this game? Because I didn't mean to start from the very beginning. Thank you. And Bob, I ask you to play in 20 seconds, otherwise the game is aborted. These are chess.com rules. Okay, so, well, we still have one game playable. Let me deliver a check. Now I would like to activate my king. Okay, so rook b7, trying to capture my pawn. Then I play rook to c4. I think you played rook b7 too early. So let's do rook c4. Yeah, rook c4. So we are only playing this Rook Endgames. It's not a simul. I mean, from where we start from the initial position. Here we practice Rook Endgames. Mm-hmm. d6, so I want to activate my king with this move. Why do I need it? I didn't need to push the f pawn, because once I do it, then rook b7, rook takes a4, rook b6, and then my e6 pawn is vulnerable. When you are defending the position against the pass pawn, try to put your rook behind. So rook b4 is my next move. And actually, it doesn't matter whether you are trying to catch the enemy passed pawn or you are trying to promote your own pawn. Locate your rook behind the pawn anyway. This is the strongest strategy. Okay, so this is a must. Mm, okay, what then? e5. So king e6, and then I want to push the f pawn. This is the plan. Okay. So b7, and then if king e6, there will be rook e8 check always. What else I can do? Let me do this move first. I want to, now I cannot open my king's position because then b7, a rook check, and then white promotes. So if I play e4, they take, I take with my rook, I still have time to move the rook back to b4. Okay, so no worries. We're gonna finish this game and I will try to explain something to you. So rook b4, trying to attack the pawn on b7, because now the rook cannot move. Now what? Well, if this move it's g4, but maybe this is what I need. So I can play g4 myself and then king g5. And then what? So g4, h takes g4, king g5. And then it's white to move. Yes, I think this is a good idea. So white is in a kind of a Zogzwang. So g3, I deliver a check, the king goes to e4, and I capture on g4 after that. Okay, so candidate master. Interesting. Yeah, can you please introduce yourself? Goes there, check, and then I capture the pawn on g4. So what is my winning plan here? Well, it's not a winning plan, actually. Okay, this move. Then I take, definitely. I have no other option. And after rook a4, I move my king back, and then I play f5. Let me see if I can win this. Well, f5 is a must anyway. Okay, now I get the e4 square for my rook, so I can do like that. Yeah, let me do like that. So the idea here is that once I push, I move my rook. Well, I can move my rook to e3 also. Okay, let me move. So f4 is a threat now. No, well, then I play king g4. So, and now I'm prepared for this move. I have rook a4. So this. Right, this is a possibility. But before playing g5, let me deliver a check. Well, yeah, let me deliver a check to chase the king away. And then I'll play this move. And then I want to capture it with my rook, but the king shouldn't be attacking my rook, otherwise rook g5 works. So I do this, and then I play this because I want to capture with the check. And then I simply advance the pawn. So it's a completely winning position. Once I'm 2 pawns up, there is nothing to talk about. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so let's check these games, guys. Let me also leave. Yeah, here we are. We are here. So, well, first of all, this position. Well, g5 right away was a good idea. Also, there is a rook d6 possibility. Rook d6. Well, I played rook a4, which is a good idea. And this, right? Take, and then you can play rook g5, and the h pawn is promoted. But this is a bit complicated. So here the winning plan was to play g5, but not take this pawn right away. So something similar happened in our game with parallax. No, actually not similar. E6, g4, g4 in order to lure the king away from the e6 pawn, and then here because of mating ideas, h6 can be played, because once well, h takes g7, the game is over, or even h7 h8. So g takes h6 is a must, and then you can play this move threatening a checkmate. So king g8, this pawn is too far, and rook g7. after which you capture this pawn. This is a weakness, and the king is in the corner, which means that king f7, king and pawn to e7 leads to a win. So maybe that wasn't important, actually. I think in this position, if I were playing it, I would continue, well, king here, like that. How can they stop me? h5. Okay, let me deliver a check. King goes to h6, I play e7. Then what? This move. Then I play with the rook, actually. Okay, then this move. Then I play with this, and no, then e8. So I have to move my rook somewhere else, and h4. So I play this move, rook e7 here, king h5. h3 was a blunder, so I play this, this, and I'm threatening with a checkmate. So king goes to h4. I'm still threatening with a checkmate. King goes to h5 is a must. And this is how I successfully take the pawn. So this king f7 is more understandable for a human player. Instead, in the game, they relocated the rook and still did the same thing. Now, yeah, now it's too far. So king goes there, there. And if h4, then chase the king to the edge and stop the pawn. So something similar. So here the key idea was to play g5, get rid of this pawn, play h6, get rid of this pawn, and create mating ideas together with the ideas of promoting the e pawn. Okay, I think it's clear. What's then? The second one, this one. Well, somehow I managed to win it with black pieces, but this is not how it works. The first few moves were correct. Rook e8 check to chase the king away. That was a very important idea because the king on h7 is not doing much. So I tried to activate it through this way, which is a bit harder when the king is already on h7. a4, this, g5, king e2. So the king goes to that flank. That was the key idea, which John didn't come up with. e5, this, king c2, rook b4, king c3. Well, if the rook goes to b1, then king goes to c4, and then to c6. So these two pawns are dangerous. Not one pawn, but two. That's why even if black captures all the pawns there and sacrifices their rook for one pawn, there is still another one that will be about to promote it. So rook d4, rook a6, king g6, and finally rook b6 was played. Why? Because after this, there is a very nice move, rook a6. The rook goes there, and there is no way to attack these pawns. They three still can hold these four. That's why just b6, and this is how white won the game. So let me show you how white, how white finishes the game here. So for example, this move, then, well, there are several ways. Let's do king c2. Let's say they play this move. No, well, king c2 is actually not a good idea. So let's play here b7. Or rook a4. Yeah, let's do rook a4 first, because if rook b1, I can block, and then the pawn is promoted. So rook d8, for example, king goes to c4. Rook goes there, king goes to c5. And because this king is too far, I just play two moves and promote the pawn. Or force black to sacrifice the rook for that pawn. So that was the key idea. When you have a material majority, when you have a pawn majority on the flank, and you are about to create a passed pawn there, try to bring your king there, because the king with the pawn can successfully defeat the rook. But a rook and the pawn cannot win the game against a rook. So it seems that there is still a lot of room for us to learn and to practice with Rook Endgames. But that was all for today. So I actually have two more games to analyze. However, we are not going to focus on them today. Maybe I'll keep it for the next and for one of our next webinars. That's not the end. I also have the homework for you. So let me send it to you. It's here in the chat. Okay, I'm gonna open it just a sec and show you what I ask you to do. So here we are. This position where black has a really bad pawn structure. There is a pawn on the A file, which is a weakness. So I want you to find the plan that allows you to win the game here. Also, there is the second position where your task is to find how exactly black draws the game. So it's quite similar to Philidor position that we discussed today. The king is already on g6. So how exactly black wins, how exactly black draws the game? There are two ways of doing it, actually. Everything should be sent to tricksofchess@gmail.com. Okay. Well, do you have any questions, guys? So those of you who wants to donate, please use this link. This is how it works. You click on it, then you click donate. Then you enter the amount which you are okay with, and then you click PayPal, and then it opens your PayPal account or creates a new one. You enter it, and then you pay through PayPal. Okay, fine. So okay, so well, what else? I'm going to create a group where from maybe 1200 to 1600 according to their chess.com rating. So instead of just doing individual classes, it will be a group class. So quite similar to webinars, but at the same time, we will be following a certain program that will make such players from 12 to 1600s better. So we will focus on their needs. I'll create a plan, and we step by step will follow this plan, as well as there will be homework provided, and also the recording of the class will be available for those who missed the class for some reason. So I'm going to announce it as soon as I fix some technical issues, because I want to run it through my website, and well, there will be a monthly subscription, and well, right now I'm concerned with how can I organize a monthly subscription. So you play like a small amount, like, well, I'm not sure which amount yet, but I want to start with $49 per month. There will be from 4 to 8 students in the group, and there will be also training plan, which in my opinion and according to my experience can quickly make such intermediate players to their next level, so which can allow them to upgrade from this level to a new one and become 1800 player, for example. So I will focus on what typically such players need to improve at this stage. But of course, once I meet my students, I will analyze their games, and maybe we will adjust the plan and work on something else too. Okay. Yeah, thank you guys, and let's meet next Sunday. So I hope there will be a webinar next Sunday, because I'm moving to another apartment, but I'm doing it on Saturday, so probably I am available for the class on Sunday. See you then. Bye bye.